Hang on, turning on the Wi-Fi here. Oh my goodness, what a great day it is. It's winter, it's snowy, whatever. Ah, you're back. All right, well, here we are in the workshop. Can you tell, dear Makers Movement friends, if you've been following my videos, I moved my buddy safety fan. I moved my buddy's safety fan over here. You guys remember safety fan? It's the fan so safe, you can safely put your hand all the way through it anytime you want to, as long as it's off. Moved safety fan, and I moved Old Glory, just playing around in the shop. Listen, today I'm going to talk about something that is going to reflect a little bit awkwardly upon anyone who's said it. It recently was said, and it was said by someone in the Makers Movement. Don't out yourself, okay? And don't expose each other. This is going to be probably not very, but a little bit embarrassing, maybe. It doesn't have to be. Don't make this weird. But this is one of those moments where Lou's kind of spicy side shows up. And it's good for us. Now, before I say what I'm going to say this. If I ever offer something out and it looks like I might be putting someone on blast, maybe even someone from the Makers Movement, maybe you drop a comment somewhere or say something, and it inspires me to do a little bit of posting that is going to cross-cut what you said. It is not my intention to hurt anyone's feelings, but I am who I am, and please know this. I have said so many things that I disagree with today, and I have said so many things that are patently dumb, that I think I'm hilarious when I call myself the captain, or when I come on here and pretend I know something with all of you. I don't think you as a listener or watcher can absorb into yourself the hilarity of me telling you anything. To me, it is objectively ludicrous, pun intended, that I am in any way a spokesman for a craft workshop. Life Skateboards, you know, you're going to pay the piper for bringing me on. Yesterday I was working my signage job. I get a signage job like every other month now. It's just a one-day deal. I go out and help my friend install signage in a retail place. And I've become an advanced installer of signage. It turns out signage is tricky. And there are tricks, but once you learn the tricks, you can install the signage. But my boss, my friend, has to do all the measuring because it's centering work. And the only centering that I do is on the hours that stick on the door. You know those hours, the white lettering usually on the door, second surface or first surface, the vinyl lettering. And my friends, I'm only allowed to do the door lettering because it's the only centering job simple enough for me to do. So yesterday, I'm trying to center a 14-inch set of door hours, you know, on a door, 5 feet high at the bottom of the block, centered horizontally, 23.5 inches wide, 14 inches wide. So the half of 23 is less than 12. So a half inch, a half of a half inch is a quarter, and a quarter out of 12 is 11 3/4. This is how I do it. And then, so 11 3/4 is my center point, and then that's 14 inches wide. Is a half of that is 7. So 11 3/4 minus 7 is, so I called my boss over because he's my friend, and I said, "Do you want to see something funny?" Or I said something like, "You want to see something funny?" He says, "Yeah." He said, "Watch my process." So I'm like, okay, 14, and I put the number 4 down, and then I put the number 1 down, working right to left to draw the number 14, because that's what I do with numbers. I don't write numbers because my brain doesn't speak numbers. I draw them. I'm ridiculous. So being a ridiculous person, and hopefully having established some understanding in your minds of how ridiculous I know I am, I'm going to talk about something I saw in a skateboard building group, and one of you beautiful, awesome, blessed, beloved idiots wrote an answer to it. And if you don't like the way I said that, get used to it. Wrote an answer that was a good answer. The question was, how do I, well, first of all, what the question was almost unintelligible, because the post was written by like, I couldn't have been written by a native English speaker, but the question was basically, how do you find center on an uncut? And the answer was a contour gauge. And that is a good answer. See, this isn't going to reflect that badly. But I had a laugh. I had a good laugh because I think you may have watched my videos before, but I'm always down to do it again. Come laugh with me, all right? Let me show you how I find the center. Oh, I'm not wearing my overalls. I don't have my fancy German marking pencil. Okay, check it out. So first, I go in my curing room and I pick what will be the least warped of my garbage work. Okay? I look down it because I have no marks in my presses. Pressing 3 deep, any marks will only be on the top and bottom board. And I found out that when I do pre-mark in the press, that the placement of the center line on a board is an opportunity, my friends. It's an opportunity for us to look and say, we look down this thing and we sight it like a gun, all right? And I can see that in curing, this one's pretty darn straight, but in curing, now this is me, okay? This is my workshop. Very, very low volume workshop. So it could be quite different in your workshop. And I know that over at Life headquarters, where, where they're making boards, they do it differently because their process is different. So just laugh at me, with me. Laugh at me. So I sight down it like this and I go, okay, well, when it rebounded from the press, when it relaxed, did it relax symmetrically? And I have my mind tell my brain to ask my eyes whether it relaxed that way. And I'll carry it through a light source, okay? And I'll ask myself as I carry it through a light source, where in the belly of this is it steeper down than the other side? One side more mellow than the other side? And the answer is usually yes. Yes. And so I'm like, all right, well, if I'm making a 10-inch wide board off this, is that going to give me a high side? And the answer would be yes. And I'm like, oh, okay, well then I need to change my center line a little bit to mitigate some of that high siding. High siding is unavoidable in my work. And the only way I can think of to get rid of high siding is to make nice, low, mellow concaves on boards that have no corners. When you're dealing with deep concaves, you're dealing with big rebounds from the press. When you're dealing with mellow concaves, you're dealing with less rebound, and that rebound from the press, when you let it out of the pressure, it goes in and it starts to relax. It starts to relax up or it starts to relax back down, and one side might relax different than the other. And maybe I was an idiot and I bumped my dehumidifier and I changed the air current, or maybe I didn't understand the air current, blah, 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 a million possibilities. And so here we are. I'm looking down at, and what I do is at that point, I take a piece of high technology. My mind tells my brain to ask my eyes, and then I have my mind tell my brain to ask my eyes to work with my fingers and my arm. And they get together, and I look down it like this, and I go, oh yeah, right about there. But that's only one side. Then I go to the other side and ask myself the same darn question. And I run it through a source of light, and I check and see, and I'm like, oh yeah, well, if I don't want to have a high side, I'm going to have to belly it right about, there. And then I've got 2 top marks, highly technical top marks, that I'm going to work off of to belly my board and call that the center line. From there on out, it's a process of beveling, splitting differences, and bringing that thing through. And there's a certain boldness that you have to I have to just embrace that, you know what, it's going to be a good skateboard. It's going to go to a good person, and they're going to have a good time together until it gives up and goes on the pile with a bunch of other stuff that wound up being toe heel twisted by constant use and standing, because one side's your toe, the other's your heel, and you're twisting your board anyway. And that's just how it has to be. Now, that didn't really reflect badly, because a contour gauge, of which I do not own that of it. I had one. I don't have it. And ironically, I have a reputation for making good skateboards, but that is mostly owed to the fact that the people who buy my skateboards love to have fun on them. I think the fun of riding them is the secret behind any good reputation I have. So I was addressing the good advice. Don't out yourselves if it was you, and don't out them if it was them. The good advice I saw on a skateboard making group that was not ours, to use a contour gauge for finding your center. And I just did a video that takes you through my ridiculous process of how to make a center, taking into account several aspects of the final process in the making. Now, one reason I get to do it this way is because my concaves are built with they have deep concave, but they also have a generous belly. The belly of my boards allows me to move my center line a little bit to take into account high siding and asymmetry in the relaxing from the mold and in the curing. So, you know, when you're dealing with deep concaves, center lining can be tricky. Can be tricky. And especially because it is the nature of 7-ply maple laminate. It's the nature of 7-ply maple laminate to be wonky when it relaxes. And when I say wonky, I mean warp, I mean woof, I mean, oh, there's another one. There's another set of them. The warp and the woof of this medium we're working in, it's fickle. So before you throw out a board because it has a quicker side or a higher side or whatever, loosen up your brain, walk the streets and recombobulate your mind, and allow yourself to flex with it, and take a look at the advice I just gave to find a center. The likelihood of this being really bad advice is low to medium. And as usual, I depend on the stoke level of the end user to fill up what is lacking in the precision of my process. And somehow I have found a place in the world in this whole mess. Makers Movement, you guys are killing it with the sharing of your ideas and questions with each other. You have safeguarded us against being copyrighted or patent pending out of business, and you're helping each other to develop your approaches to skateboarding. Whether you're a hobbyist who never sells a thing you make, or a low quantity production that you sell one board every now and then for fun and to buy your next bunch of wood, or you ratchet that up to like Life Skateboards or like Ben Butler has before with his wood shop work, into a full-on brand, you got my heart. It's the best I can give you. You've got my heart, man. I think you guys are awesome. I would like to spend my time showing people what you do, because I don't think there's much better going on in skateboarding than you. Thanks for your work. Thanks for your care for each other. Thanks for being cool to each other. And I hope this was cool to the person whose good advice to use a contour gauge. I hope this was cool to them, because I think that person is extremely cool. And I think their work is extremely cool and important. I hope this helped to stimulate all of you to communicate with each other and be cool to each other and keep sharing what you're making with each other. Thanks, Makers Movement. I appreciate it. It makes me laugh to say so, but I guess I'm your captain and I was speaking. So thanks for being here, and I'll be back at you soon. Peace.